Oh, yeah? Well, your mom's fat.
It's a cheap semantic trick, and you know it.
Is this what you do on your show? Because it sucks.
All right, are you ready for some your mama jokes? This humor that this Malcolm guy brings in this interview, it's on the Bill Maher show, it's Ben Shapiro and Malcolm, is basically like your mama jokes and you're so fat jokes. It's really amateurish. So in this video, we're gonna go through the good and bad things that both these guys do, mostly Shapiro, because he's really sharp on his feet and he's a really good guy to learn from, so you can kind of take some of the best things that he does and incorporate them into your own social skill set. But it starts out with him not doing so well. And I think one of the reasons is, in this interaction, he's got two people who either dislike him or disagree with him. Have you ever been in an engagement like that where two people, you know anything you say is gonna be, first of all, critiqued critically, and secondly, harshly attacked. And that gets in people's head. It forces them to talk more quickly, to not be as smooth and free-flowing in their thoughts. And even a guy like Shapiro, who does this all day, is not immune to it. So if you want to see this whole video, go to Bill Maher's website. Because of copyright issues, I can only show like 15 seconds of these clips at a time, so I can't show the whole thing, but I do show the highlights. So let's jump in here and see what Shapiro could have done better.
What is critical race theory?
I will admit that I read a lot of critical race theory in law school. So, you know, the work of Derek Bell or Gene Stefancic
This is
and
the
Richard
stuff
Delgado.
no one knows but you and 6 other people.
Right. So,
All right, he totally missed it. So, you know, Shapiro looked a little pompous. He's like, you know, I read this and this in law school. I think he came, even the smile at his face. And then basically Maher saying, yeah, you only 6 people understand this, making fun of him. And his response is just completely flat. He says, right. But I teach ignoring when people make fun of you a lot is a good strategy. But in this instance, when the crowd and everyone is laughing at you, you have to acknowledge it. If it's just you and 2 other people and there's really no response from everyone else, that's when it's a good move to just ignore it. But when it landed and people are laughing and it's told by a talk show host, which has the microphone, you have to acknowledge it. So as opposed to just saying, right, what could have he done? Well, he could have just given a little snicker. Not even something, you're not looking sheepish, you're just acknowledging, okay, maybe what I said came off as a little bit pompous or a little bit off, and then straight back to the straight face that he has. So let's watch it again, and imagine if he would have just given a little snicker and see how it would have come off a little bit better.
Derek Bell or Gene Stefancic
This is
and
the
Richard
stuff
Delgado.
no one knows but you and 6 other people.
Right. So,
What matters is what is it?
All he needed was a little smart. All right, let's get into the good stuff. Now his interaction with Malcolm. So this guy rubs me the wrong way because of the way he handles things socially. And we'll see here. When he doesn't have a good answer, I mean, he's doing the best he can, but he has to pivot away when he doesn't have a good answer to things that are ridiculous, but they just come across wrong. Let's watch this, and I'm sure we'll jump into one very shortly.
And I appreciate you being honest in defining of what it's like to be Black American.
Okay, that's corny, because he was asked a question, what is critical race theory? And he answered it. And now this guy says, thanks for explaining what it's like to be a black person. Well, what was he supposed to do, not answer the question? Like, that's just a cheap layup that isn't, like, he uses things like this all the time to try to come across well and to try to come across funny and sharp, but it's actually ridiculous. Because what should have Ben Shapiro said? I'm not going to answer the definition of critical race theory because I don't want to speculate on what it's like to be a black person in the U.S. It's just ridiculous. It's a cheap shot that only lands with people unintelligent enough to not recognize that.
That is, I mean, we're talking about a system.
That's unfair.
I'm just...
See, and even Bill Maher, who typically sides on the other side, is like, dude, that's unfair. That's a low blow. Like, that doesn't even work.
Because you have merit, Malcolm. So if you're going to criticize the meritocracy as an outgrowth of white supremacy, then you're going to have to tear down the system that you've succeeded in because you have merit. Or do not have merit.
You know, when my great-great-grandfather ran away...
Okay, you see what he does? So Ben Shapiro comes at him with all this data, like these facts. You did this, I just quoted this. What does he do? He never comes back with logic. He always goes to stories, anecdotes, to try to divert attention from the pointed questions that Shapiro asked.
40,000 people did not assault the Capitol. Okay, that's just factually inaccurate. There were maybe 1,000 people. That is not making light of the evil of those people who all will end up rotting in prison, as they should.
How many people came to that rally?
Were all of those people assaulting the Capitol? Is that your contention
They all marched on the Capitol, and then the leading edge
They all marched on the Capitol.
building.
It's just inaccurate, Malcolm.
Yeah, it isn't. No.
Yes,
No.
it is inaccurate, Malcolm.
Facts, Ben.
Yes,
okay.
you're not mentioning them. Malcolm.
All right, this is a great exchange because a lot of stuff is going on really quickly, and they're both trying to set traps for each other. So what he says right away is he says it's factually incorrect that 40,000 people marched on the Capitol. And so Malcolm says, well, then how many people were there, right? So he's taking a step from marching on the Capitol. Everyone was there to doing that. But even if Shapiro would have said, well, yeah, 40,000 people were there, but so many people did this, it wouldn't have sounded as good as the way he put it, which is all of them did march on the Capitol, just immediately discrediting that fact.
They all marched on the Capitol. It's just inaccurate, Malcolm.
Yeah, it isn't. No.
See, and there he gets caught up, right? It's moving so quick. Even people who are quick on their feet can make mistakes. So he says it's factually inaccurate, and Malcolm goes, yeah, it is. So he said it. He got slipped up and said it incorrectly. And Shapiro does the same thing a few times, like we saw earlier. This is high level conversation.
Yes, it is inaccurate, Malcolm.
Facts, Ben.
Well,
yes,
okay.
So then he throws Ben's old line, like facts don't care about your feelings. That's kind of his tagline. And so he throws it in his face. Facts, Ben. It's a good use of that term. So what does Shapiro say?
Not mentioning them.
Yeah, you're not mentioning them. So that was a great, quick retort to even come back on what? Because what if Ben would have been able to think of something then? That would have been quite a zinger. Him saying, yeah, facts, Ben. And he just kind of sits there and be like, oh, man, that would have been a really tough way to go. But he was quick on his feet and he said, yeah, you're not mentioning them.
Not just say a moment ago that I think that term has been hijacked and that's not what we're talking about.
Okay, so let's say
Then why are
critical
you
race
defending it?
I'm going to go back and repeat that I didn't say that.
Okay.
You are literally
Let's
defending critical race theory by redefining it as just teaching history, which is a cheap semantic trick, and you know it.
Is this what you do on your show? Because it sucks.
Okay, another great example. So, and this is where I think Shapiro makes a mistake. I mean, some might argue otherwise, but he comes at him and says, hey, you did this, and he had nowhere to run. So what does he do? Is this what you do on your show because it sucks? Once again, you divert attention. And, to be honest, in his defense, there's not really much else that Malcolm can do because Shapiro is holding his feet to the fire, calling out multiple things multiple times, and he doesn't have an answer to it. So how do you divert? You tell an anecdote about your grandpa, or you say your show sucks, or you're stupid, or your mom's fat, right? All that kind of stuff. This is no different than him saying, yeah, but your mom's fat. Like, watch this again. Like, think about that in your head when you see it. It's exactly the same
Is this
thing.
what you do on your show? Because it sucks.
Malcolm, Malcolm, I appreciate that.
Dude, hold on, I didn't even see that. Look at Bill Maher. Even he gets uncomfortable. Look at the look on his face here. This is awesome. Look at Maher.
Malcolm,
Maher looks concerned. All right, here's where I think Shapiro could have done better. I mean, this isn't the worst thing in the world, but it's not.
But I will comfort myself tonight by sleeping on my bed made of money.
Okay, so that was just a line implying, obviously, that his show does well and people like to watch his show. His show doesn't suck. But I think if he would have added even one more line, like, yeah, the show sucks so much that we make more than you in a week than you do in 10 years or something like that, I think that would have been better because his line about sleeping on money, it just sounds once again pompous. It doesn't relate back to the joke and discredit the joke. It just basically, some people are going to watch that and just think he's saying, yeah, well, I'm rich and you're not. And that's not what he's trying to say. But if he could have given and once again, he had to come up with this really quick. Bill Maher looked like he was about to run off the stage. But I think he could have used a little more context to kind of put the other guy, Malcolm, down and to discredit his comment that his show sucks more than just saying that he had a bunch of money. For those of you who've been around for a while, I'm taking a little break because with COVID, what are you going to do when everyone's wearing masks? You can't see people's interactions. Nobody's getting close enough to interact. So there's no good interactions to break down. So this is the first one that I've seen in like a year that's good. And I'm hoping to jump back in and put out some more content now that people are conversing face to face. If you see anything that you like, that you think I should break down, just send me a message on Instagram and send me a link to the actual video because I am looking for more content to break down. Thanks again for being a fan of the channel. I'll talk to you soon.